I embarked on serious training of officers. And that one is still continuing to date. Co-chair, I wish to submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanja. But just quickly, because, are you married? Do you have a family?
Yes, married. Co-chairs, no other members. I am married. I have a family. I have 3 children. I have 6 grandchildren. But I'm grateful to God for that.
You're a family man?
I'm a family man. Yes.
A Christian or a Muslim?
Yes, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
I'm a Christian.
Okay, just lastly, before I give to my co-chair, because it's good to get to know that Kenyans are really following and they want to know the kind of a person that possibly, if approved by these members, is going to be in charge of the security in the National Police Service. Now, have you ever, by any way, been charged in any court of law or convicted?
No.
No. Have you ever been adversely mentioned in any investigatory report?
Co-chairs, honorable members, I've never. So the answer is no.
Well, Mr. Kanja, you're a Kenyan citizen, no doubt. But could you by any chance have a dual citizenship, maybe of another nationality?
Co-chairs and honorable members, I'm a Kenyan by birth. I don't have any other nationality. As I've indicated, I was born in that small village there, and I still belong to that village. So I'm a Kenyan by birth, and I'm proud to be a Kenyan.
My co-chair, anything?
I just want to inform the nominee that apart from questions which will be asked by these members, as I said earlier, Kenyans are watching these proceedings. So there will be questions from the public later. I just want to inform you on that position so that you know. Now, chapter 10 of the Constitution deals with matters of national values and principles of governance, which requires any public servant to uphold in his leadership good governance, integrity, transparency, accountability, among others. You've been in the service for how many years now?
For 39 years.
39 years. To what extent? Because 39 years is really a long time. You served under the old constitution and the 2010 constitution. To what extent do your personal and work experience reflect these principles? Have you been able to display integrity, transparency, accountability, and all values set out in chapter 10, article 10 of the Constitution in your 39 years of leadership? That is question number 1. Question number 2 is chapter 6 again of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. Have you ever been adversely associated with practices that depict bias, nepotism in the discharge of your duties in the 39 years? We are talking about areas where you've been able to display, and in those stations you've served, you're able to tell the committee the very many stations you'll be able to serve, being promoted. Can you confirm to this committee if you have been able to depict or show any of those aspects of bias, promotion, handling people, and generally discharging your duties.
Thank you, questions. Thank you, honorable members. In Chapter 10 of our Constitution, I want to confirm to this committee that in the many years that I've served in the public service as a police officer in different capacities, I have at all times held those values, the values as dictated by a constitution, at very, very high esteem. That is what has actually, over the years, made me fight favors with my seniors on the realization that I am a Kenyan, and everybody to me is a Kenyan. That is how I have, in all my days, treated my officers. That is how I have treated our population. Every person who has at any time come to my office, because I believe in the open door policy where everybody is accepted. I have treated them as Kenyans foremost. I've held those values. I am an officer who holds gender values at very, very high levels. Along the line of my development in the service, I've ensured that I lead from the front without fear, without favor. Even the other day when I was the Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Kenya Police Service on matters leadership and integrity, we had some promotion votes that were going on. I personally had to cancel a whole interviewing panel, which was somewhere in the Eastern region, because of practicing what is not envisaged in our act, in our SSO. I had to cancel the whole and reassemble a new one and punish the other. That is the extent that I can be able to do. So I want to confirm to you, Honorable Chair, that I am a person who have always transacted my government business within and always guided by the Constitution, and more so by Chapter 10 of our Constitution. And if approved by this committee and appointed by the appointing authority, this is an area that I will continue in that trajectory. See everybody as a Kenyan, treat everybody as a Kenyan. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Kanja. Now I want to open for members to raise questions, and I will give the first three. I've seen Kabondi in the first one to raise hand. So we will go for a bunch of three. You answer the questions, and the three in that order. My co-chair will be holding the other names, I'll be holding others, so that we proceed.
Co-chair, maybe before members takes, I just want to correct our nominee, which is the last statement. It puts it that if approved by this parliament and appointed by the appointing authority, the true position is you've been nominated by the president, and you will be approved or rejected by this committee and parliament by extension. So it's good you put it right. Thank you very much.
True. His prayers, of course.
This is the parliament, the committee that will.
It's for you to approve.
Okay.
Okay, proceed.
Co-chair, you didn't look this side, eh?
Oh, sorry.
This other side, I'm at your back.
Where?
This side.
Oh, my classmate. I've noted your presence there. So let us have the first person to take us through Abundi.
Okay, co-chairs, I have...
We'll be mixing, of course, Senate and Parliament, so your two chairs here will be very fair.
Yeah, Mr. Kanja, there is no doubt that from the way you have presented yourself, you are very, very eloquent. And eloquence at times is very deceptive. You have been very clear here that you are first posting outside. You are greeted with the kind of insecurity. Ilokichokyo, Todd, and Kabedo. That is in the North Rift. That area, as we speak, to date, is still experiencing serious insecurity. At first, you are there practically on the ground. But now, as from the commanding position, you can still see the same level of insecurity that you first experienced on the ground, but you can now watch from a vantage position in Nairobi. Now, could you tell this committee, now that you are going to be the overall boss of police, if approved by Parliament and appointed by the President, what different thing are you going to undertake to sort out the level of insecurity? Because previously, other nominees would come with rosy ideas, they would just thump, but once they retreat to the comfort of the offices, their priorities deviate. So what do you think should be done by you differently in liaison with the government so that we can put the matters in security in the North Rift to arrest forever? Thank you, Co-Chair.
Side, nobody. Oh, okay. Correct, definitely, that is your field, and also myself. Proceed. Correct.
Thank you, co-chairs. And
you want to follow the senator, so don't worry.
Bwana Kanja, there has been persistent banditry attacks and cattle rustling in North Rift. We truly appreciate the efforts put by the National Police Service, but despite the efforts, the cattle rustling has persisted. What will be the challenges that the police service is facing that is hampering it from doing away with? Because as from your own testimony, you are first greeted by the very same incidences when you are a young officer. Today, you've done 39 years in the service, and the problem is still more or less the same, if not at another level. Number two, what is the current status of the National Police Reservists? If you are approved and appointed, what will you do differently to ensure that the National Police Reservists are well equipped, are well enumerated, and are known that for a fact, we know there are so much police reservists in these counties that have police reservists, so that we do not have cases whereby the police reservists double as bandits and police reservists. And finally, the issue of disarmament. We've heard the government talk tough about disarmament. We've heard the police do disarmament in part of North Rift, Laikipia included. But to date, the illegal firearms are still wreaking havoc in those areas. What will you do differently to ensure that illegal arms in the arms of civilians are more so criminals are taken away? And a very good example is the Mgogodo forest. You know what is happening in the Mgogodo forest? The Sieku Valley, there was a disarmament in Laikipia North, but even as we talk yesterday, there was an attack. Where are these arms coming from?
I think the third would be Tulu.
Thank you, co-chairs. And thank you, Mr. Kanja. Now, my question is on conflict of interest. I'm sure, having served in police service for 39 years, you must have experienced that there are conflicts of interest that takes place within the police service. Section 12 of Public Officers Ethics, Cap 185 provides that a public officer shall use his best effort to avoid being in a position in which his personal interest conflicts with his official duties. And I believe you know that very well. In the Maraga report of the National Police Service Reform, it was established that there are very many cases of conflict of interest, including traffic police officers owning public service vehicles. Again, there are motor vehicle breakdown services that are owned by police officers, alcohol outlets, gambling outlets, and others. My question is, how can issues arising from conflict of interest be addressed in the police service to resolve professionalism, or to restore professionalism? Number two, what strategies are you going to put in place to ensure public confidence and trust in the police service be restored? I thank you, Chair.
Nominee, you can now answer questions from those three members. Then we go to the next phase.
Honorable co-chairs and honorable members. Let me start with the first question from Honorable Kapondi. That is about the North Rift and the serious insecurity. What is it that what is it that I can do differently to ensure that there is security in those areas? It is very true. It is very, very true, honorable members, that that is the area that I started my service when I joined the police force then. And true to what you have said, when I arrived in Lokchogio, it didn't take long, but then I lost a colleague of mine whom we had been recruited and trained together under the hail of bullets from some of the criminals there. That was the kind of baptism that we got in that area. But over the years, the government have actually done a lot, because then for those who know, that route from Kitare to Rodwa to Rokchogio was not tarmacked, was a rough road, a maram road, it used to take several days actually to go to road one. Not like today, probably you can do it in a day, early in the morning, in the evening, when you actually know. So there is, to me, there is a lot of investments that have actually come into being over the period of time. That way, even deployment and responding to issues affecting security in those areas have actually been hastened. I know when I was the commander GSU, we had deployed many officers in those areas, through Kanja region, the North Rift areas, Saburo region, the KP areas. We have had serious deployment in those areas, actually to deal with the problems that have actually been afflicting the people living in those areas. Now, what I've also seen over the years, and what I believe in, these are issues that requires to be addressed, short-term address, the medium-term address, and the long-term kind of investment that is required to ensure that at the end of the day, we can be able to deal with that menace. However, along the line, something else has also happened. That now, the usual and the ordinary cattle rustling has also been commercialized, such that once the animals are stolen, these animals, it's very difficult to recover them. So, if I'm approved by this, by Parliament, and appointed to the position of the IG, the first thing that I would like to do is to work very, very closely with other stakeholders in that field, because this is an area that requires multi-pronged approach. It doesn't, not the police alone can be able to do it. No, everybody needs to get involved, including the Ministry of Agriculture and livestock development needs to brought on board, such that now probably we can also be able to leverage on technology. That way, if some animals are stolen from that end, they're brought here in Nairobi for sale, we can actually be able to track them and get the criminals and ensure that those who have committed those crimes are taken behind bars and punished as guided by our constitution. So these are some of the areas that probably I would like to.
Which type of technology specifically do you have in mind?
I know sometimes back, there was a time I was involved in some seminars in North Rift, whereby we were discussing on how we can be able to put the borders. That is an equipment that is actually, swallowed by an animal, especially the lead animals. And then that way, the division commanders, the county commanders can actually be linked such that at any given time, you can be able to monitor. If I find that your animals, they are around 50 kilometers away.
So it's tracker.
It's a tracker.
Okay.
So, but the police alone, the national police service cannot be able to do that. It needs to engage other stakeholders so that now we can be able to have an approach that is well informed and is supported by everybody. Otherwise, on the part of the national police service, we will continue to do what we are supposed to do. Right now we have got very, very serious deployment in that area. We are working together with the KDA and the other security agencies, including the National Intelligence Service, because ours is an intelligence-led kind of policing. We can be, but in fact, we have disrupted so many activities of these cattle rustlers in a manner that we have actually brought down the menace to the levels that we have reached now. And if we can be able now to join and be joined with by the others, we can continue to do that. Education is also a key leverage. So that is an area that requires serious investment in, because now, once we educate these communities, it's a good leverage. It's a good leverage. It's an equalizer actually. And some of these traditions can also be abandoned. That's the reason why I said that from the beginning, that we need to have the immediate, what we can be able to do immediately. We have the teams there on the ground, then the medium term and even the long terms. We also need to introduce probably some other activities, agricultural activities in those areas, so that we can also be able to probably abandon some of the traditional ways that have all along encouraged very, very serious conflicts related to cattle rustling in those areas.
I would like you to, in view of time, you have just said one point by Korere and Kapondi.
Yes.
You still have, and I think you are not even through with that. Because even me, as the co-chair here, I will be on you on that issue. Cattle rustling started when we had just gone to Standard 1, 1977. During the time of Mzee Kenyatta, Moi came 24 years, nothing doing, under their police commanders. Then Kibaki, and then Kenyatta too, Uhuru. Now William, our head of state, Bwana Kanja. This is an issue that you must be able to give a substantive, satisfactory, and meaningful. I was MP Baringo North for 15 years. I did nothing else than to cry, and So, and I know you are aware of all those issues between 2008 and 2022. So, as a leader and as a member of this committee, I want to plead with you that this is an area where you are, even the president himself has given a firm position that it is this regime which is going to sort out this issue. But he can audit himself. He will do it through you, if approved, and others. So I can even see from where I sit, Korere is not satisfied with the answer, but you are answering to a very critical item. So if you can quickly now move those questions of the three members, so that, because we don't have a lot of time, and we wanted to give enough time to speak to Kenyans.
Chair, I want to support your sentiments, co-chair. And you remember I was one of the delegates who went to, from this committee, who went to Baringo. And Mr. Kanja, the way you have answered questions, I have no doubt that you will be able to sort out this thing. But my major concern, co-chairs, is the population in South Baringo and North Baringo who have been moved from their locations. They don't stay in their homes. What steps are you going to take? Remember, Chair, when we went there were even schools which were guarded by the security forces. And in spite of the fact that they were there, those bandits still attacked the school. So what are you going to assure the population? Because actually the people we must assure are the people of Baringo who have perpetually been under attack. And they want to hear from you what steps you are going to do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So let us allow the nominee now, because I see he has a lot of points to say. But please see how you can summarize so that we call for the other round of members. I was just emphasizing the point.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. It is true that is an area that has had problems for a long time. I've also worked in Baringo around my service time. And what was there was serious issues of cattle hustle. Now, as I've said there before, I've indicated that I would like to work with everybody. Remember, our government now, it has clearly indicated, as you have said, that this menace must be completely dealt with. And that is the reason why right now we have got a serious operation that is going on in the entire that area. But if approved and appointed as the AG, what I would like to do in that area, I would also like to leverage, and I know we have been doing this, to have in the areas that we are also very thin on the ground, we need to have additional NPLs. NPLs, they are the local peoples. They understand their terrains, they understand their traditions and the way of life. So myself, I would work very, very closely with people, the leadership of these areas, to see to it that what is agreed is implemented, because I know we have local solutions in those areas that can actually be incorporated and assist the national government in sorting out the issues of cattle hustling. And I've indicated that I will be willing to work with all the leaders to listen to everybody so that we can be able to get a solution to deal with that menace once and for all. Otherwise, as I've indicated there before, we have got this very, very serious deployment in those areas. We are grateful that we have received back the air support services of the National Police Service. They are with us now, so we are much better. Although we still require a lot of support in terms of budgetary supports. We will still be coming back to this committee for such supports, because that way we can be able to do what we are supposed to do and ensure that that menace is really dealt with and abolished. So for the people in those areas, I want to affirm to them that it's an area that I understand very well. It's an area that I understand the problem that is there. It's an area that I will be going from time to time to ensure that the forces on the ground are doing what they are supposed to do, to ensure that the children of this area, they go back to schools, to ensure that the mothers and the fathers, they do what they're supposed to do from morning to the next morning without looking over their shoulders on matters in security. So this is an area that personally I'm going to take charge.
Lolo's question.
The matters disarmament. Yes. On the
proceed.
On the issues of disarmament.
But we were just trying to consider the number of members, the kind of question I know they have. You need, of course, to a little bit summarize to the point, but leaving nothing, so that you can able to address to the many questions lined up for you.
The issue of Tulu is on conflict of interest, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's on conflict of interest, but there was also the issues of disarmament and where the firearms are coming from. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that, our country, we are surrounded by a very, very disturbed area where we have got many sources of illicit firearms. The areas, the countries that I'm referring to, they are disturbed areas. You look at the Karamoja region, the Great Lake region has got a lot of challenges. But if approved and appointed the IG, myself, I'd like to work with the other agencies, including the LEXA, that is the Regional Center on Small Arms Light Weapons, I would like to work with the Kenya National Focal Point. These are the bodies that are actually very much involved, because if we want to reach the other areas, we reach those areas through the REXA, the REXA teams. So mine is to ensure that we work with everybody so that we can be able now to reach the other areas, the sources of these firearms. And then on our part internally, together with the Kenya National Focal Point, we continue to mop up all the firearms that are here. I've been very much there before involved in the mopping up of firearms, destroying them in various areas within this Nairobi. And we are going to continue doing that, to mop up this, because an illegal firearm in the hands of the wrong person is a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous one, and that one does not rest well with the National Police Service. So on matters conflict of interest, the question that was raised by Honorable Fatuma, it is true. The National Police Service has had serious issues on matters conflict of interests. When I was the DEIG, Kenya Police Service, not many officers, because there are internal mechanisms that are provided, especially by the service starting under the Police Act, on how to deal with these issues. So you find some of the officers, they're also the owners of the Rocco bars, the owner of the Rock Wine and Spirits, the owner of the Matatu there, the breakdown, as you have said. These are areas that when I was the DIG there in charge of the Kenya Police Service, I was hard on that, because it was agreed that you must choose what you want to do. If you want to be a bar owner, then so be it. There's no problem, but a bar on the other side, so that you can be able now to concentrate on one area. And this is something that we are going to continue working very, very closely with the National Police Service Commission on these matters until everything is streamlined. We cannot allow cases where you are a traffic officer, a police officer, but at the same time you are the owner of the matatu that is breaking all the laws, right, left, center. That cannot be around. And because we are working with everybody, correction of intelligence and everything, if that thing happens, we will be in a position to stop it immediately. And if there is anything that is ongoing, I would also like to urge my colleagues out there that let us concentrate on police work, leave other businesses to other people, so that the issues of the conflict of interest does not really arise. Yes, thank you.
So we are going to take another round of questions, and we'll kindly ask that you be precise to the point so that we can accommodate as many as possible. So we are going to take one from Russell and Senator Lamu, and for purposes of gender, Rosabu, then Senator, just be on the line. In that order, and I will also challenge us to try to be brief so that we can also accommodate the rest.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. Mr. Kanja, the motto of National Police Service is Utumishi kwa wote. Going down the memory lane, the prestige, all the good things about the National Police Service appears to have really gone down. That today Kenya's confidence in their police force is actually at the lowest. If Parliament is going to approve your nomination, what are those things you are likely to do so that you regain the moral high ground? Secondly, the issue of corruption. You talk about the good things the police do, and then you follow on with the issues of corruption that has really challenged the performance. All the good things are eroded by corruption, nepotism, malpractices, cronyism, favoritism, tribalism, or associated with the National Police Service. What is it that you are likely to do? Or what strategies are you going to put in place so that things like recruitment, it is not for the highest bidder, that the guy who will be having 1,500,000 is actually the one who will be recruited? What will you cause so that an average Kenyan from a rural village in any part of Kenya can actually assess to be recruited in the National Police Service? Finally, is the issue of Haiti. Kenyans are now in Haiti, and if you will be approved, they come under your command. The question I want to put to you is, did we follow the due process of law to be able to deploy our forces in that far-flung place called Haiti? And also, what are the benefits to Kenya? Because Kenyans would like to know that we didn't just send our men and women to the Caribbean, but actually there's benefit that is likely to accrue to the Kenyan people. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Now that I said Lamu Senator,
Thank you.
then I think we.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. Mr. Kanja, I'm happy. I've heard that you are not new in the issues of Boni Forest. I wanted you to elaborate to this committee the measures that you will put in place to ensure that the people in counties that are in close proximity to Somalia, like Lamu, where I come from, Garissa, Marsabit, Mandera, and Wajir, remain safe and free from external aggression like Al-Shabaab. Number two, your predecessor had some issues with the Kenya National Police Service on issues of transfers and promotions. How are you going? What are you going to do to make sure that these challenges are resolved? Thank you, Chair.
Rosa.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kanja, you made reference to the Constitution that was promulgated in 2010, and that is the supreme law of this land. Article 37 of this Constitution, Mr. Kanja, provides that every person has the right to peacefully and unharmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present their petition to public authorities. Mr. Kanja, the 6th schedule of the National Police Service Act provides that a police officer shall always attempt to use nonviolent means first, and force may only be employed when nonviolent means are ineffective or without any promise of achieving intended results. It also stipulates that the force used shall be proportional to the objective to be achieved, shall be proportional to the seriousness of the offense, and shall be proportional to the resistance of the person against whom it is being used. The recent demonstrations that the country has experienced or witnessed, commonly known as the Gen Z demonstrations, is reported to have left over 60 people dead, scores of others injured, and a number of people abducted. Mr. Kanja, it is also reported that most of those dead people were unharmed and only had telephone sets in their hands. And many of them are also reported to have been shot from, on their backs. In line with the guidelines that I've just read, Mr. Kanja, do you think the police service has complied or has been complying to the provisions, especially when managing protests? Number two, in your opinion, were there any security gaps in the management of such protests? And if in your consideration there was, what interventions would you consider in future if you do get confirmed to this position? Mr. Kanja, still on those demonstrations, on the 25th of June 2024, the parliamentary premise was invaded by protesters. Why was the police service not able to prevent the invasion, as Parliament is one of the strategic national state installations? And two, and the last one, what is the assurance and the confidence of the police service to ensure security and safety of Parliament in case of any other security threat or emergency? I thank you, co-chairs.
So you can respond to the three, maybe 2 minutes each.
Thank you, co-chairs. Thank you, members. Let me start with the last one from Honorable Osabuyu. It is very, very true that the Constitution of Kenya, Article 37, has given the people of Kenya the right to protest, the right to picket, to demonstrate, and to deliver and hand over petitions to public offices or public officers. However, I must also hasten to say that where one's rights ends, another right begins. So now, I would wish to say that there is no country that can never allow extrajudicial killing. Extrajudicial killing is illegal if it ever happens. And let me also say this, that the police officers, in the training of the police officers, a training that I have personally attended to in various capacities, the training is to ensure that a police officer is always in the forefront in the defense of the rights and freedoms of the people through the functions provided by the Police Act. They are well trained on what to do in terms of the management of demonstrations. Public Order Act guides on matters demonstration. If there is excessive use of force by an officer, we have the oversight bodies. We have IPOA. We have the ODPP. And even now, as you speak, I know there are several investigations that are ongoing in relation to what happened during the demonstrations. there's a clear demonstration that any use of excessive force be able to order investigations to look into those very serious allegations of the violations of the rights of the people. But what I want to say to the honorable member is that if approved to be the IG of the National Police Service, I will ensure that the service performs its duties within the frameworks of the law. Within the frameworks of the law, so that everybody enjoys his rights. The security of Parliament. Parliament is one of the key bodies established by our Constitution. And if approved and appointed IG, this is an area that we cannot allow anyone to come around joking around with this Parliament. So for me, I will do whatever it takes to ensure that this Parliament is safe and secure as the IG. On matters security gaps, yes, there are gaps, and maybe let me start by saying that I must first of all appreciate the police officers for having operated under difficult circumstances, because our security, the security of the state, was in jeopardy, because the kind of demonstrations that we had, they had actually engulfed almost the entire country, overstretching the resources that are at our disposal. And that's the reason why, going forward, we still need to invest a lot in terms of ensuring that our officers are well trained. We continue training, continue getting the better equipment to manage some of these things. Training, as I said from the word go, is an area that I would like to run away with, because I do believe that trained officers is actually the direction to go, and we need to have a lot of investment in that direction. And then on matters, former IG had issues, that is had issues the National Police Service on matters promotion. Well, if approved.
Just a minute, before you go there, on the 25th, the day not to remember, as the speaker rightfully put it, the reports are when Parliament was invaded, and of course the City Hall was actually even banned, you didn't have water, cannons, or water, even actually fire extinguisher, fire engines. Maybe, and I know, because you were still, that day you were the DIG, and of course you were in thick of things, trying to quell the demonstrations. Will you tell the country and us and these members, it is an issue that of course there was demonstration even before, that was actually the second day. How comes that such thing could happen, and you could not even have the basic fire engines or water even to put out the fire? Was it laxity? Was it lack of preparedness on your part as a police service?
Chair, Co-Chair, on the part of the police service, who are prepared, fully prepared, because we had actually faced similar issues the previous days. We were fully prepared, and despite the fact that the multitudes of the people who turned up, they were huge. The entire roads from all the way from Thika Road, they were actually blocked. Kiabu Road was blocked. the globe roundabout was actually blocked, such that even for the water cannons to get water was also a challenge, because first of all you must do the clearance and then you'll be able to access. But what I would like to hasten to say is that from there are better preparations, and also the issue of the multi-agency support systems are there, and everybody is working for the benefit of everybody. Water is readily available, and we say that we are set for that. Thank you, Chair.
Really running?
Okay, on the matters, there were matters that were raised about the former IG having issues with the National Police Service Commission on matters promotion. If I'm approved and appointed as the IG, being the head of the National Police Service, and also being a commissioner of the National Police Service Commission, together with the DIGs and the DCI, I think we just need to table what we have before the commission, because we are also members of that commission as commissioners. And then everything is discussed on the table and agreed. So I don't think we are going to have any problem going forward on those issues. Thank you, Chair. And then matters Boni Forest, Lamu, Mazabit, Garissa. I want to assure the honorable member that even as we speak now, I'm aware that we have heavy deployments. Highly trained officers are on deployment in the northeastern region, along the borders, all the way down to Boni, starting from border post 1 up to border post number 27 in the Lamu area. We have got heavy deployments inside the Boni forest, and we will continue to do so, and continue even to facilitate those deployments so that they can be able to enhance their capabilities. So the people of Mazabit, the other day we had a very serious operation there, when it had become very difficult because of the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in that area. I was the commander GSU and he headed that operation. Right now Mazabit is quiet. So I want to assure the people from all those areas that if appointed and approved and appointed IG, continue to invest more in those areas to ensure that our people are safe and secure. Thank you, Chair. On the Haiti question, yes, we have deployment. On the Haiti question, we have deployment there. We have already deployed around 600 officers. Maybe I want to make it clear that that deployment of the multinational forces in Haiti was deployed as guided by the United Nations, and the former Prime Minister of Haiti did request on behalf of his people for that kind of support from our government, and the government agreed on that. And I want to report to this honorable committee, co-chairs, that the officers on deployment there, they are doing a very good job. They have been received well by the people of Haiti. Roads have been opened, hostels have been opened, the ports have been opened, the airport has actually been opened. So our officers are doing a very commendable job in support of the policing agencies in Haiti. And number two, the support that the salaries, the kind of insurance they have there, all that is met by the United Nations. That's the kind of support, including the medical attentions that they normally get from time to time. That is supported by the United Nations. The benefits for the Kenyan people. Kenya, being amongst the nation of the world, we envisage a situation whereby we live in in an environment that is secure and peaceful. And the same case applies even to the other countries. So the benefits are such that our people, when they are out there, our flag, the national flag, is flying high. Everybody in Haiti right now believes that the Kenyan forces are doing very well. And I believe at the end of the day, we, the people of Kenya, we will be the major beneficiaries once our mission there is the intentions are fully achieved. The Kenyan people will actually be the biggest beneficiaries because we have deployed policing services elsewhere, including Somalia, including Sudan. We have police officers there, and all of them are doing a very, very, very commendable job. And also the kind of experiences that they are going to acquire when they are there is also going to be beneficial to the other officers here, because you'll also be able now to incorporate, train them how to deal with others from other nations. And those other important areas that you can be able to pick from them, they can also be calculated to our policing agencies here. So there are many benefits that you can be able to acquire and accrue from that deployment in Haiti. And then finally, on corruption matters.
But just before you leave that question, in 1 minute, can you tell the country and this committee, on your own, from your own assessment, how do you rate the success of the Kenya multi-security in Haiti? How do you rate their success? 2, achieve their well-being. You know, of course, Kenyans are intellectually fierce, you know, they're anxious. So you can just a little bit tell us how they're doing and how do you rate their success?
Thank you very much, co-chairs. Thank you very much, honorable members. I want to assure the Kenyan people that our people who have formed up the multinational operations team in Haiti, as I have indicated there earlier, they were well received by the Haiti people. So we don't have any threat at all. I've also indicated that they have gone ahead and secured those critical infrastructures, including the medical facilities, including the highways, including the airports, including the ports, seaports. They have actually been opened. I've also indicated that the United Nations is catering for them, from their salaries, from their food, medical cover, and so forth. So the officers are very okay.
So you're confirming their well-being is, you know, their welfare is good. You're also confirming to these members that barely 2 months, they are doing tremendously well to help the people of Haiti to bring the country to normalcy. Exactly. I think that is exactly what you are confirming to us.
Exactly. They have done very
well. We'll go to the next question.
We are proud of them. And if approved and appointed IG, I will be visiting Haiti there to boost their morale so that I can be able to continue delivering that area. Otherwise, on matters corruption. Honorable Chair and members, corruption is an issue that this society of ours must sit down. We need to have a serious discourse as a people now to discuss matters corruption in our country. We need to have that discussion in our families, with our children. We need to have it everywhere in our churches, in our mosques. We need to mention something to do with corruption. The reason why I'm saying this, even the officers that we have, the police officers that we have, they are members of this society. They are drawn from each and every village in the entire length of the Republic of Kenya. So we need to have a discourse at that level so that we can be able now to have the champions. We have the people who can be able to raise flags. We need to teach our children early enough of the evils and the ills of corruption. We don't just need to leave it to the EACC alone. Everybody now needs to be a champion in that direction. And now, coming to the police service. If approved, I'd appoint an IG. I will work very, very closely with the officers themselves. I'm going to work very closely with EACC. I am going to work very closely with the National Police Service Commission. I'm going to work very, very closely with IPOA and other relevant bodies that can actually be able to assist us. We need to come up with a policy framework that can actually be able to guide us. How is it that we are going to eliminate this menace? I remember when I was appointed the DIG, Kenya Police Service, there was a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to matters traffic, because it had been devolved to the regions there and the counties. But there was no direct command and control of the same. So what we decided to do was to return it back to a commandant whereby we can be able to have a framework, a structure that the command and control of these officers can actually be anchored into. I've gone ahead and trained the commanders of those officers. Recently, before I left the DIG position, I ensured that we have what we call the county traffic enforcement officers. These are the teams that works with the popular teams known as the base commanders and the rest, so that now we can be able to have a command structure that is answerable to a certain body. That way, we can now be able to account for each and every officer. If a report, for example, has been brought in that it is this place that we had this incident, then we can always be able to get to know that is so-and-so was there. Now, that way, now we can be able to start our investigations. Look, our uniform, the kind of uniforms that we have right now, we have made it very, very clear that the name tag, your number, service number, must at all times be displayed. All these measures have been put in place to ensure that we bring in accountability, and we are going to continue in that direction. If approved and appointed the IG, I will go in that direction and work with everybody so that we can be able to control and reduce matters corruption. But as I have said, we also need to look at it even from the national level, and probably have a discourse whereby all the leaders, political leaders, and everybody else is actually actively engaged on matters reduction of this corruption indices. Thank you, Chair.
We are going to take another round, but just on the last part, you talked about corruption. Maybe when appointed confirmed, would you think you can consider using body cameras to the police, especially in corrupt-prone points like weighbridge, driving, these barriers?
Co-chairs and members. From the beginning, I said that adoption of technology is a key priority, because as I said from the word-go, the service has actually been left behind. It has actually been lagging behind on matters technology. Of course, majority of us will understand.
Yeah, you can just answer. It's a simple question.
Yes.
You're
yes.
very experienced.
Yes.
You've worked in many sectors of police. Do you think you can consider as one way to curb corruption?
Exactly.
To introduce body cameras?
Exactly. That
okay.
is it. Yes.
Now we're going to take another round, starting from Senator.
Thank you. Thank you.
So everybody is going to have a chance there. So starting from Professor, then you. Vice Chair, then Commander. Everybody will speak.
Through the chair.
Kaunya, sorry. That is Mheshimiwa Kaunya.
Through the chair, IG, or they call you nominee. My questions will be short and sharp. different from what you've been asked. So please just give me yes or no answers and we move on. When the demonstrations took place, you are the deputy IG, correct? Do you think you handled the demonstrations well?
Yes, I believe we handled the demonstrations well. And that's the reason why, even today, we are seated here doing the kind of business that we are doing. Otherwise, it could have been very, very difficult because as a country, the security of the state was actually in trouble. But now, we are here we are very safe and continuing. Thank you.
Were you pleased, IG nominee, with the invasion of Parliament?
No, that was one of the lowest moments in my life. Thank you.
So would you do it differently if you are IG?
True. My approach would be different.
What would you do?
Prof, just guidance. You know you are cross-examining.
I'm just,
like in court.
Yeah, I'm making it easy because the answers were not clear. I want him to come to the point.
You're cross-examining our nominee, and I think our rule is you set your questions, the other one then responds, all of them together.
Okay.
So set to the standards, lay
Chair, I
rules
support
of the
what
game.
you're saying because we set the rules of the game right from the start.
Right there. So, IG, what would you do differently if you were faced with a new set of Gen Zs coming into town? You have said yourself that roads were blocked and you could not access certain roads. What would you do to map out Nairobi well so that you do not have demonstrators come to the center of the city and cause the kind of mayhem that they did? But on that, I just wanted to answer this. Were all those who came into the city genuine demonstrators? Is there a way you say these are genuine, these are not genuine?
You just know that. You will respond together with the rest.
And then I just put the last question, IG. Very, very last question, because you are coming into a serious office. We have talked about 600 officers deployed to Haiti. When was the last recruitment of the police, the last recruitment? And how many policemen have we lost through death, retirement, resignations, and dismissals from then to now? And then just tell us, as you take over office, when are you going to announce the hiring of new officers?
That's a very valid question. Senator Vice Chair.
Mr. Kanja, I like you personally with how you handle the communication. Immediately you were acting IG during the demonstration. To me, felt like a breath of fresh air. I don't want to go into how your predecessor handled it, but I just want to note that we have a lot of hope in you and faith. My question is going to be on budget. The current budget cuts, especially in the development budget, have posed a great challenge in the police force. What are you going to prioritize to ensure that the National Police Service performs efficiently and effectively in view of these austerity measures? Secondly, the President, through a directive in November 2022, made that Inspector General of Police was designated as the accounting officer of the National Police Service. What is the impact of this directive? And finally, Kenyans are wondering, because you are just at the age of retirement, Kenyans are asking, why do you want to be the IG of police and there are other qualified officers who are much younger than you and are qualified for this position? Thank you.
Kanja?
Thank you very much, co-chairs. Chair, I would like to ask questions relating to the police reforms. and then I will give a last comment. Our nominee for IG, there is this question of police reforms that has been elusive over a long time, since the late 90s. And as you're aware and you've been in the service, the police reforms have undergone through several stages. And maybe just to highlight and indicate to you that we have had police reforms prior to 2007. And after 2008, we have had the recommendations by various bodies, including, and starting with the Waki report and other commissions that followed. We have had task forces, such as the one that was headed by Naikuni. We have had, of course, the latest being the Maraga report. I want to ask one question. If you can give this committee or committees, joint committees, an indication of just 3 factors or issues that have hampered the implementation of police reforms in Kenya, which are really meant to have improved the effectiveness and efficiency of police and to improve the confidence the public have in the police. That's the first question. Second question. In terms of the Maraga report indicated that the leadership in the police service was very poor in terms of the human resource management, and including, of course, the issue of development of facilities that ensure the welfare of police officers to deliver is undertaken. Some of the examples that have been mentioned already, the issues of police uniforms, the issues of promotions, transfers, which have been identified to be riddled with favoritism and sometimes not properly organized. I want to ask which new strategies, give us just 3 strategies you are going to apply to ensure that those areas identified by the task force are addressed. Of course, you are aware some of the recommendations have already been mentioned and they are in place, or they are ongoing. It may be good if you mention to the members which of these reforms in the task force that have been recommended and have already been implemented. Lastly, on the question, senior office police officer, especially as DIG, you have brought some changes in this respect of training, emphasizing training of officers, which is very, very good. I want you to tell us candidly whether the training centers for police officers which were at the regional level are operational or not. And if they are not, what are you going to do about? Because I think one of the factors is the capacity to train within the institutions that we have for training. Lastly, Chair, this a comment. Interestingly, our nominee, I noticed in your opening remarks that you are born on the 22nd of September, 1963. I was born on the 6th of June, 1963. Apparently, we are in the same cadre. Very, very interesting. Interestingly also, I note that actually you are a platoon commander at one stage. And Honorable Senator Dulo will confirm to you, I was also a platoon commander at some stage. Interestingly, again, we have undertaken, I did, and indeed the chair indicated, I'm commandant. I was commandant at some stage, and apparently you played that role at some stage. This does not call for your comment, but you can comment. I wish I knew that I was qualified to apply for Inspector General. I should have applied. I initially thought that this is only, so I think the president should have nominated me. But wish you the best of luck. Thank you, co-chairs.
Okay, kindly, can you able to respond the three members' question under 10 minutes? But I personally just want you pay a little bit emphasis on the issue of the Maraga Task Force report. Specifically, maybe you can give a status update report to be very for clarity purposes. What has been implemented? What is the roadmap?
Thank you, co-chairs and the honorable members. Maybe let me start by the last one. From Honorable Kanja. That it's good that we have got some very common grounds. I really appreciate, and if approved and appointed IG, I think can also be able to offer quite substantial reference areas going forward. So thank you very much on that. On matters training, vis-a-vis the regional training centers, let me say that the regional training centers are there and they are strategically positioned. We have one in Nairobi here, we have another one in Rift Valley, Nakuru, we have another one in the coastal region, that's in Mombasa, we have one in northeastern Garissa, we have one in Isiolo down there. These training centers were strategically positioned so that they can be able to assist the regional commanders, police commanders, who are popularly known as the PPOs then. Because of the uniqueness of our country and the many challenges that we face when it comes to matters of security, the regional commander, through the training college, the training center, he could be able to organize trainings that are geared to support the unique challenges that are faced in that specific area. That is basically the reason why we had those challenges. In Nairobi, the training center was meant to train and equip officers deployed in Nairobi on all those areas, all those issues affecting the security of Nairobi. You go to the Rift Valley here in Nakuru, that training center was meant to assist the PPO, the former PPO and the regional commander now, to come up with the strategies and the train officers so that they can specifically deal with the uniqueness, nature of those areas, including the cattle clustering menace, for example. You go to the coastal region, you also need to train the officers on all security matters affecting that area, including terrorism and the rest. So these training centers were critically important. However, over time, they have actually been run down. And the reason why they have been run down, when I was appointed the DIG, I was looking at this. Why is it that we are facing all these kind of challenges when I was at that level? We realized that for a long time, our budget, the budget allocated to the National Police Service actually, is in most cases a third of our request. That actually puts us in a very, very awkward situation. So going forward, personally, I would like the training centers to be brought up on speed so that we can continue to start training the officers there and actually make them mission ready to deal with the issues that are specific to those areas. That one now requires funding. And that's the reason why, personally, if approved and appointed IG, I will still be coming back to this honorable committee for assistance so that we can be able to get additional funding in order now to ensure that our officers are well trained to handle issues that are specific to specified areas. That is how probably I would like to approach. So the training centers are critically important, and we need to move with speed and ensure that they are up and running to support the officers in the field. And that way, we also see a lot of improvement in terms of security enhancement in those areas that have actually been having some of these challenges.
But out of all the centers, is there a few that are functional?
Yes.
How many out of the?
Okay, we have a number of them that are operating, but not up to 100%. But for example, in Rift Valley, we have the training center there. We have actually been training the officers. At times, we could also take them down to Magadi here to enhance their skills.
Okay. Okay.
So that is how Coast in Mombasa, it has actually been learning. In the Northeastern, it has actually been learning, but it requires a lot of support so that we can be able to bring it back to the ongoing reforms. When Maraga Task Force submitted its report to the president, thereafter, I know a team was constituted by the former IG, so that now we can actually now be able to look into details what Maraga report had actually said. And then it was actually divided into 3 categories. There were those areas that required no funding, and they could be implemented. There were those areas that required funding, and they can be done in the medium term. And there are others that require to be done in the long term. At the same time, there were other areas that requires some policy change, and others required even amendment of the laws. So the current status is that a number of them have actually been implemented. Remember, even the phase 1 of the salary increment that is affecting the welfare of the officer has actually been implemented, where our officers were paid some money last month, and it is continuing. Number 2, when we look at the component of uniforms, because that was also another area that was coming out clear that needed to be addressed.
You can confirm to the country and this house that the increment has been of police salaries, wages has been already effected.
Yeah, it has already been effected.
In the end of the month?
Yes, the previous month. So, okay. So the officers, their welfare has been looked into, and they're happy. They're happy for that. So in matters uniforms, we are set. All the procurement processes are complete. What is remaining now is the issue of funding. And
you can specify which uniform, the current uniform or the anticipated.
The anticipated uniforms. In fact, once we
into the previous.
Yes. Okay, we have the combat uniforms that are normally in use by the GSU, by those general duty officers who are deployed in the frontier areas. Those are the combat uniforms. The ones that are worn by the administration police officers, the formed up units. Those are the combat uniforms. And those ones we are not changing. But there are those uniforms, the blue uniform that is ordinarily worn by the general duty officers in the urban areas. The blue uniform. We are changing that one, and in fact, a lot of investment in that direction has been done, including public participation, and we have gotten what the officers and the public feels that this is the right one. So what is remaining is the rollout, and the rollout is actually on the process. Once the funds are available, we're just going to roll it very, 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 very fast. very fast. So on those areas where we require the policy changes, the processes are already ongoing. On the areas requiring some the adjustment on the laws.
What is the plan on the housing?
Yeah, our plan on the housing is we want, if it is possible, housing where we have RAD within our police stations, housing to be done in those areas so that our officers are deployed, they stay deployed and stays within their police station areas. And that way, they are always available for a quick deployment. We're also encouraging our officers so that there is the affordable housing schemes. We also want our officers not to be left behind on that one. We want them to get engaged in that one, and then they start paying the mortgages, and at the end of the day, they will be the owners of those homes. So these are some of the areas that affect the welfare of the officers, and really we are pushing in that direction to ensure that our officers are also not left behind when it comes to those issues. On matters recruitment, yes. Recruitment is an area. The last time we did the recruitment, I think the last pass out parade was done last year. So we are going to do another one very soon once all the processes are okay. So that's an area that we are also interested in. On matters,
the resources are available.
When funds are available. Okay. Yeah, when funds are actually available. There was also the question from Professor. He has walked out. Okay. Okay. I can go on. So, so there was this question of how many officers we have lost and how many have retired and so forth and so forth. We can say that every year a good number of officers leaves the service through the natural attrition, retirement and so forth. And that's the reason why every other time when we have got an opportunity to recruit, we do recruit so that we can be able to retain those numbers at that level. But that does not mean that those who are there are not rendering the service. They are effectively rendering the policing services in our country. The budget cuts. It is true, the NPS has also been affected by the budget cuts. So, having been affected by the budget cuts, the only alternative that we have right now is to sit down and prioritize on the areas that we can do the funding. And those areas remains as the operation areas, the welfare, matters training, and the maintenance component, because remember we also have got the equipments that we are using in all those far-flung areas, and they need to be maintained all through, including the DCI lab, so that they can be able to continue rendering and supporting us in our investigations, providing the Kenyan people with the certificate of good conduct and so forth and so forth. So these are some of the areas that we must, the circumstances do. And then finally, on that issue, if approved and appointed the IG, I will still come back to this committee so that I can be able to lobby for additional fundings that can actually be able now to fill in on the gaps. Because I did indicate even from the word ago that the kind of budget that you normally get are not adequate. So any reduction really affects the service.
Chair, I wanted to point out that our nominee has not answered one question properly. The first question, I'd asked what 3 things does he consider to have hampered police in Kenya? Because all these reform reports that we have received over time since 2000 are similar in recommendations. Some of the reforms even do not need money. They don't need funds. But I thought he should come out just 3, because he's there. If he's approved today, we would expect him to put in measures to address what has hampered.
Thank you, Co-Chair and members. It is very true that a number of police reforms have actually been hampered. Implementation of these reforms, they have actually been hampered from time to time. There are many factors that have done and led to that. And it is true that not all of them requires funding, but a good number of them requires funding. And, as I have indicated there before, and honorable members, have indicated that the police service have actually been, lagging behind when it comes to matters funding, because a number of them, for example, look at the maintenance of our houses. Look at the motor vehicles that we have right now. There are big challenges. A lot of them are geared towards actually effective funding of the service. But of course, as the honorable member has said, there are those areas that really don't require money. And those areas that don't require money, personally, if approved by this committee, by the Parliament, and appointed, these are some of the quick wins that I run away with. Thank you, Chair. Okay, there was also a question on the accounting officer.
Yeah, just under in 1 minute.
Yes, I'm going to do it in 1 minute. So, personally, Honorable Chair, personally, that is an area that I support very much. Having an accounting officer in our organization, that is the National Police Service, is actually moving in the right direction. So that now the IG can be able to support the operations, whereas somebody else is also looking at the fundings. And that way, all of us, we can now be able to move forward very well. So these are areas that personally I will be supporting, very, very supportive. I want to work with everybody, if approved and appointed, for the benefit of the National Police Service, and that one goes around in benefiting the people of Kenya. Thank you, Chair.
I'm sure why the member did ask that question. There has been a kind of a feeling or insinuation that the IG wanted to both have the gun and the money without having a civilian being the accounting officer. But I think you've confirmed that you are more than willing to work under the arrangement.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to have my co-chair conduct the other set.
Okay. Maybe as you deal with the issue of institutions, my committee of Senate went to your academy here in South C, or South B. Very, very important institution, which is supposed to be getting you money as you train from other regions. Maybe you can make a comment at some point on that issue. Now, what do I do? Okay, for the Senate, I will give to Seki, and then I wish I never got this time here now. I think we will give to the man from Turkana. And then finally, on the 3 groups, you see another group. The lady, Fatuma. Oh, sorry. You will be next. I will be next.
Actually, everybody will talk. We still have like 40 or so minutes. So, and we'll just 5 of you.
Yeah,
okay.
Especially even the man next to Seki.
Okay. Thank you, Co-Chair. My name is Lenku Kanar Seki, Senator Kajedo. I have a question to the nominee on the issue of that there has been issues on claims that there's some disconnects between the DCI, the NIS, Kenya Police, and so forth on issues of operations when you also operate doing operations, particularly on the issues of these demos that has been there. Can you tell this committee how you can bring in these issues, or what is all this about that? 2, I think you have handled the issue of external harassments on the borders, but I want to ask the issue on the area where there's also that trade between our borders. We've been having a lot of harassments of Kenyans in our borders. You look at the issue where there's the area in Tanzania where we have been having some cattle being sold by the neighboring countries for farmers. There's been an incident where chicken has been banned by the neighboring countries, that's Tanzania. Recently we had 2,000 cattle been arrested and charged with more than 35,000 from Kajiado County by Tanzania authorities, and they even arrested the people from our own boundaries. These are the things that really need to understand how you can coordinate as the Inspector General of Police to bring some, peace to our traders or even farmers who are also working in our boundaries. Please tell us more about this. And last but not least, the issue of National Police Service Commission in relations to your office of Inspector General of Police. How do you bring, you can see that sometimes there have been some overlaps of roles and responsibilities. How do you bring in the functions, because we understand the functions of the National Police Commission and your office in relations to issues of recruitment and human resource. How are you going to tell Kenyans and this committee on how to reduce the conflicts in between there and the relationship between your office and the National Police Service Commission? Thank you very much. Co-chairs.
I thought you had answered actually that third question earlier. I think you had done it. You can just emphasize what I said on time. Who was the next?
Yeah, I was the next chair. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine will be 2 questions. One of the questions will have a series of other subsections. Chair, all of us are familiar and aware of the Shakahola massacre, where close to 450 bodies were exhumed. The church of one Pastor Mackenzie thrived for a very long time without raising any concern until recently, 2023. While there are structured local administration and security agencies, and in the recent past, 30 severely mutilated decomposing bodies of female persons were recently found in Mukuru and Jaga slums in Nairobi. Now, my question is, what's your take on the coordination mechanisms between the Kenya Police, DCI, and National Intelligence Service? Number 2, what are the challenges and gaps in the acquisition and utilization of intelligence for the purpose of dealing with criminal activities? And number 3, during the Shakahola, when this issue came up, the Senate had a committee visited this particular area and came with a report. We want to find out the recommendation of the Senate what has been done, or if you are approved by this committee and by extension by Parliament, what will you be able to do? Number 4, if given a chance to be the Inspector General, what deterrent measures will you put in place to ensure that similar atrocities do not occur in the near future? Number 2 of the question I said, this is a supplementary question to a question somebody asked about ASAL areas and banditry. ASAL and border areas are actually chronically and critically understaffed in terms of the presence of police service. And I think this is not by default, it's by design. And I wanted to ask, because majority of these areas lack police presence or security presences. I will ask because in these areas, most police officers are not comfortable working in these areas. Even if they are posted, they find their way out of these places by corrupting their seniors, and then they are transferred elsewhere. Is there a way NPR can be enhanced to replace the number of police officers who may not be comfortable working in these particular areas because it is not maybe their upbringing to allow them to live in those particular areas? Like if a police station requires 60 police officers and you have only 10, why can't we be able to recruit 50 NPR to enhance that police station? Yeah? And the last one is the issue of human trafficking, drug trafficking. These border areas are the main entry point. And the case of human trafficking is Ethiopia. We have seen number of Ethiopians being trafficked through Kenya, either to Uganda or to Tanzania, to their destination. And it is because of the porosity of these particular borders, because of absence of security forces along these borders. What better can you do to ensure that this doesn't continue? Thank you very much.
Fatuma. Thank you, co-chairs. My question has just been asked by Mheshimiwa Kuja, but I will still ask and put in another way. Mr. Nominee, I want to start with the drugs trafficking in the area of Ethiopia and Kenya. There's a lot of drugs trafficking happening between Ethiopia and Kenya, and it comes through Ethiopia, Moyale border, Wajir, Isiolo, and to the rest of Kenya. And there's a lot of wealth that is being made out of these drugs, including the police officers who are in those areas. And it's surprisingly, it's done in the open glare of the police officers. And I'm told they don't like leaving those areas because of the wealth they make, Mr. Nominee. And as a result of that, the impact is so felt that there's a lot of killings that happens between the people who are dealing the drugs. There's breakage of families and so many other, impact that is felt. Even as the former position you've had as the DIG, I'm sure this has come to your table many times. And if you were to go to this area right now, you'll be shocked how these businesses are being done in the open glare of the public. And the public have a lot of information, and there is nothing that can be done because of the police officers. What is your take on that? It affects us a lot as the communities who reside along the border. That is one. My other question, you mentioned on education, Mr. Nominee, and I want to integrate with insecurity. Are you aware that some locations in this country that their schools are closed as the government is watching as a result of insecurity? One of them being Bambo West in Mandera, Wajir North. This is the third term that is, the children are going to school. And the school in Bamboo West is closed as a result of insecurity, and nothing is happening. And I'm told the school has gone up to grade 8 or standard 8. So I want to know why that is happening in our country. I want to come back to your education background, Mr. Nominee. You have done so well, and you have rose through the ranks on the position you hold as the DIG and the acting IG. Looking at your CV, you've done a lot to do with security matters. And I see your degree is on commerce, Bachelor of Commerce. Just wanted to know why the shift from the security to the commerce sector. I don't know what you have seen. I will want to know what you have seen so that we get to understand more. Lastly, the recent demonstration that my colleague had asked, I just want to inject something small on the police officers who are not wearing tags, who are on plain uniform, and who are not also wearing service numbers. What is your take on that, even besides the court saying it was illegal? Why did we have to continue doing what we did? Thank you.
Okay. But I will request you to maybe take maximum 7 minutes for all those. Because if you see our Thai members, it is already going to 1. And the rest of us who have not gotten a moment must speak also. So, Kanja, try maybe 5-6 minutes there. Kindly.
Maybe just to reinforce what the co-chair said, we still have a lot of questions from the public. So maybe members will be asking only 2 questions maximum so that we can help the situation.
Okay.
And even the nominee, be precise, to the point, with clarity.
And also where questions has been answered, like this last part of Seki's question on the issue of, which one was it? Yeah, on conflict of interest.
Commission.
It has been done. So you can ignore that and you move to the rest.
Okay, thank you, co-chairs. Thank you, members. Let me start with the last question of Honorable Fatuma. The issues of drug trafficking between Kenya and Ethiopia. It is true that has actually been a route that drugs have been trafficked. Human beings have actually been trafficked.